I gave him 6 years of my life, carried him through his darkest days, and the moment he could walk again, he walked out on me. We were that couple everyone thought had it all. Married young, deeply in love, building a life full of possibility. We had just started talking about having kids, maybe even looking at houses with more bedrooms than we needed, because we believed the future was ours to shape. Then it all shattered in an instant. It was a rainy evening, nothing dramatic, just one careless driver and one unlucky turn. The car crash left my husband paralyzed from the waist down. The doctors were blunt. The spinal damage was severe. And while recovery wasn't impossible, it was unlikely. Just like that, everything changed. Our future, the one we were planning with open eyes and hopeful hearts, was replaced with hospital beds, wheelchairs, and a new reality we didn't ask for. I didn't have time to cry. While he lay in a hospital bed, silent and broken, I was making decisions. I quit my job. I canceled everything. I became his nurse, his chauffeur, his emotional anchor, bathing him, feeding him, helping with bathroom needs. I did it all. I figured out the insurance maze, paid bills, scheduled physical therapy, argued with doctors who saw him as just another chart. In the beginning, everyone praised me. "You're so strong," they said. "He's lucky to have you." His family called me a saint. My own parents said I was doing what real love looks like. I wanted to believe that. I needed to believe that, because the only way I could get through each exhausting, heartbreaking day was by telling myself I was doing it for love. But love doesn't shield you from burnout. And it doesn't guarantee that the person you're sacrificing everything for will still be the same when the dust settles. No one sees the cost of being the strong one. Not really. While the world moved on, mine shrank down to a hospital bed in our living room and a to-do list that never ended. I stopped going out. Friends stopped calling. My phone, once full of group chats and dinner plans, became silent. I told myself it was okay, that love meant sacrifice. But the truth is, I was burning out. Quietly, completely. There were no breaks, no girls' nights, no one to tag in when I was too tired to lift him off the bed or when I just needed to cry without holding back. He was everything, and I was nothing outside of him. At first, he was grateful, but gratitude fades when pain takes over. He grew bitter, not just sad, angry, resentful. He hated being dependent, hated feeling helpless. And he took it out on the one person who stayed, me. He snapped over little things, how I folded his clothes, how fast I helped him out of the chair, how tired I looked. The worst part, I understood. I didn't lash back. I held his hand through his depression, through the tears and the silence and the rage. I reminded him he was still a man, still my husband, still worthy of love. I smiled when I wanted to scream. I loved him through it all. Even when I felt invisible, money got tight, insurance barely covered anything long term. I picked up part-time remote work, writing copy for websites and answering emails late into the night, just to keep us afloat. But even that was done between bathroom runs and therapy sessions. I was a full-time nurse, a wife, a breadwinner, and still somehow expected to be emotionally available for a man unraveling in front of me. My friends drifted away. They didn't know what to say anymore. How could they? Their lives were brunches, vacations, baby announcements. Mine was pills, bills, and breakdowns. Still, I stayed because I believed love meant holding on, even when every part of you is begging for a break. After everything, the years of sacrifice, sleepless nights, and stubborn hope, a spark finally lit in the dark. A new specialist suggested an experimental rehab program combining cutting-edge therapy with a custom mobility regimen. We had tried so much already, but this time felt different. And it was. Slowly, Almost unbelievably, his body began to respond. At first, just a twitch in his fingers, then more control in his arms. Weeks later, he could sit up without assistance. I cried the first time he took 2 shaky steps with the help of a walker. He laughed, said it felt like flying. It was like watching a miracle in real time. I felt alive again. For the first time in years, it wasn't just survival. I pictured us getting our life back. Maybe we'd travel. Maybe we'd finally start trying for kids again. I thought, this is the turning point. We're going to make it. I poured myself into his recovery, cheering him on at every milestone, massaging his muscles after sessions, learning the new therapy routines. I believed we were rebuilding together, but then something shifted. As he got stronger, he also grew distant, not just distracted, cold. He stopped smiling when I walked into the room, picked fights over the smallest things, the way I talked, the food I made, even how I looked. One night, I caught him hiding his phone when I walked by. He said I was being paranoid, but the seed was planted. He started guarding his phone like a teenager with secrets. Passwords changed. Notifications turned off. He was always texting someone, but wouldn't say who. I tried to brush it off, telling myself he was just adjusting, that gaining back some independence was shaking up his emotions. But deep down, I felt it. Something was breaking, and this time it wasn't his body. It was us. He was walking again. Not perfectly, not fast, but enough to no longer need my arm. Enough to leave the house without help. Enough to reclaim a version of freedom he hadn't known in years. I celebrated every step with him, even when he stopped celebrating with me. I chalked up the distance to stress, adjustment, ego. Anything but what I feared. Because if I admitted what was happening, then all those sleepless nights and endless sacrifices would be for nothing. Then one afternoon, while gathering laundry, I saw his phone light up on the nightstand. A message preview flashed. Miss you already. My stomach dropped. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. And once I opened the thread, everything unraveled. Flirty texts, late-night heart-to-hearts, inside jokes. Not just casual banter. This was emotional intimacy, and worse. She was a physical therapist who had been working with him during the final stage of his recovery. I remembered her, young, pretty, always polite. Too polite. When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. Not exactly. He just rolled his eyes and said I was overreacting, said I was being clingy and too sensitive, like I imagined it all. Then he dropped the final blow. You smothered me. I lost who I was in all this. I need to start over. A week later, divorce papers were on the kitchen table. No apology, no guilt. Just cold, clinical closure from the man I had fed, bathed, and fought for when he couldn't lift a spoon. He had gotten back on his feet and walked right out of our marriage. The divorce hit like a wrecking ball, not just because I lost my husband, but because I lost 6 years of my life to someone who walked away like it meant nothing. I gave him everything, my 20s, my body, worn down from lifting and pushing and caretaking, my career, left behind in a rush to become a full-time nurse without the paycheck, my friends, my peace, my plans. All of it sacrificed to keep him afloat. And when he could finally stand again, he didn't look back. He just left. The silence afterward was the cruelest part. The same people who once called me a hero, his family, mutual friends, even some of my own, suddenly disappeared. No check-ins, no support. It was as if my usefulness ended with his recovery. I scrolled past their social media posts, pretending everything was fine, while I sat alone in an apartment I could barely afford, surrounded by medical gear I no longer needed. Less than a year later, the wedding photos showed up online. He married her, the same woman from the messages. The woman who had been there cheering him on in the therapy room while I sat in the car crying from exhaustion. They looked so happy. His suit tailored perfectly, her smile glowing, captioned with something like New Beginnings. And the worst part? He rewrote the whole story. In interviews with friends, in mutual conversations, he painted himself as the phoenix who rose from the ashes, despite me. Told people I held him back, that our marriage had died the moment he lost the ability to walk. Said I smothered him, made him feel small, that I couldn't let go of the caregiver role. None of it was true, but truth didn't matter. He moved on, rebuilt, rebranded. I was just the before picture, the forgotten part of the journey he didn't want to carry into his new life. In the beginning, I crumbled. Not metaphorically. I mean, I couldn't get out of bed some days. The apartment felt like a graveyard of my past life. Every corner whispered reminders. The wheelchair ramp I had fought to get installed, the heating pad he liked, the schedule I'd taped to the fridge to keep his medications in check. It took everything in me not to disappear into that silence. But you don't stay down forever. Grief doesn't vanish, but it thins, like smoke after a fire. One day, I opened my laptop, updated my resume, got a job. Not glamorous, but it was mine. I worked hard, saved what I could, even laughed with coworkers. Real laughter, the kind that doesn't come with guilt. I bought new clothes that didn't smell like antiseptic. I cut my hair, changed the apartment. Slowly, piece by piece, I came back to life. The hardest part wasn't losing him. It was realizing I had lost myself a long time ago. In the service, in the caretaking, in the belief that loyalty meant self-erasure. I had confused devotion with love, sacrifice with value. But love without respect, that's a slow death. It eats you inch by inch until you forget you ever had a name outside of wife or helper or strong one. Now, I move differently. I don't beg to be chosen. I don't cling to people who see me as a convenience. I live on my own terms. No spotlight, no praise, just quiet strength. And when people ask about him, I don't get angry anymore. I just smile a little and say, he may have walked away, but I'm the one who stood through the fire.